Murder, mystery, mayhem. It's titled Queen at the Movies, Halloween edition. Let's go see Steve.
Ooh, Johnny, have I got a goodie for you. Titled Queen at the Movies. Johnny, we hadn't done a film noir in a while, and I decided to do one of my favorites. George Marshall's film version of Raymond Chandler's The Blue Dahlia, starring Alan Ladd and Veronica Lake.
I didn't know these things were ever blue.
Alan Ladd was the main star at Paramount Studios, and he was going off to war, and Paramount wanted to get one more movie out of him. And John Houseman, who later won an Oscar for acting for The Paper Chase, was the producer at that time, and he went to Raymond Chandler and said, "Do you have anything?" And Raymond Chandler was working on a book called The Blue Dahlia, and he decided to write it as an original screenplay.
Called The Blue Dahlia.
And he had this deal with them that they had to deliver all these cases of scotch. He would only write this screenplay from home.
I take all the drinks I like, anytime, any place.
They had limousines taking the various pages over to the set each day, and they would arrive and they go, "Okay, this is what we're shooting now. All right, this is what we're shooting now." And he just kind of dragged out the whole process and got progressively drunker and drunker and drunker.
I just happen to be that kind of a girl.
This was the third teaming of Alan Ladd and Veronica Lake, one of the great screen teams in the 1940s. Alan Ladd was only 5'2", and the only woman in Hollywood who was shorter than him was Veronica Lake by 1 inch. And I always have had a major crush on Veronica Lake. I love her. I think she was much better than Lauren Bacall or Elizabeth Scott. She had a wry delivery.
Well, you could get wetter if you lay down in the gutter.
And she was absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. Her gimmick, unfortunately, was that she had this beautiful blonde hair and she had a natural break that would fall over one eye. So that became her big thing. Well, that lasted for about a year or so when she first came on the scene with I Wanted Wings and This Gun for Hire and The Glass Key. Women all over the country had adopted this hairdo and they were getting caught in machinery. You know, and it would pull their heads in and they would get, like, injured. So the government requested that Veronica Lake change her hairstyle so that women who were working in the war munitions factories wouldn't get hurt.
It all blows up in your face sometimes, doesn't it?
This is essentially a story, which I love about, like most of the really good film noir stories, about soldiers' inability to adjust once the war was over when they came home. And feeling just out of place and not quite right in their environment or their own skin. Alan Ladd plays a guy who comes home. He's been overseas for 7 years, and while he was overseas, his wife wrote him and said that their only son died of diphtheria. He's come home, and he's going to visit his wife, played by Doris Dowling. He hasn't seen Alan Ladd in 7 years. He comes in, and she turns the corner, and she is in this. Now, Edith had designed this gold lame outfit with these shoulder pads that made her look like a Green Bay Packer.
Relax.
And she's got this hair all twisted up in the back. She's the quintessential film noir bad girl, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think you'd better leave. My husband would like to be alone with me. He probably wants to beat me up.
The kind of woman who is going to get a bullet within 15 minutes, which she does. She sees Alan Ladd and she announces kind of casually,
All right, hero. I was drunk. I was in a car smash. Dickie was killed.
Sorry. You know, the next thing you know, she's dead.
Come on now, let's... Oh, brother.
He has two buddies that have come home with him, one of whom has had a war accident and has a big piece of shrapnel in the back of his head, William Bendix. And Bendix is worried about his buddy because he knows his marriage is in trouble, so he goes to see the wife. He might have killed her. Howard De Silva, who owns the Blue Dahlia, he might have killed her.
I think we better call it a day.
Well, supposing I don't want to call it a day.
Veronica Lake, she was fooling around with her husband. She might have killed her.
You pick up many people like this at night?
It's a nice mystery, and it has kind of a twisty finale. As I said, they got the scripts momentarily right up until the end of the movie, and finally when they went to film the end, they went, Who did it? All right, shoot it. And they did, and they got it just in time, and they headed it up, and they thought, oh my God, what's going to happen? Well, it turned out it got Raymond Chandler an Oscar nomination for Best Screenplay, and it proved to be one of the biggest hits of Alan Ladd's career. I think you're going to love it. It's quintessential film noir. It moves. It's got that dialogue, that Raymond Chandler dialogue. At one point, Howard De Silva's friend says to him, just don't get too complicated, Eddie. When a guy gets complicated, he gets unhappy.
When he's unhappy, his luck runs out.
All that kind of stuff, which I just love. It's the best black and white film noir for your money, and I think you're going to go for Alan Ladd, Veronica Lake, Howard De Silva, in George Marshall's classic interpretation of Raymond Chandler's The Blue Dahlia.
Let's all go to the lobby.
I know the picture! No, that's all right.
To get ourselves a treat.